do I close the door on a 40-year marriage? Accepting is so hard. Well, and it's not just accepting it. I mean, you have to accept that it's over because it is. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't have a choice about that. It's like the relationship is over. But how do you manage the grief of that? Well, Michelle, managing the grief of that is a different story altogether. Do you know what I mean? Like, managing the grief is really hard. And being able to be compassionate with yourself and reminding yourself that, hey, I'm doing the very best I can today. 40 years is a long time. 40 years of loving somebody and caring for them and writing a story together and having a joint vision of your life together. When that ends, the grief will be enormous. And it's so important to give yourself grace around the grief. So the grief, I would think, could last a year or two, because it's so painful. But acceptance of, the relationship is over. You don't have a choice with that. Like, you can tell yourself, well, I don't want it to be, or I wish you'd come back, or I'm hoping for something different, or you can do that, but it's kind of futile. Do you know what I mean? Because if the person is gone and the relationship is over, the first thing to remind yourself is, I can want it not to be, but it is. I can wish for different, but it's not. I can hope you can resolve things, but if the person's made it clear that they're not going to, reminding yourself, and that's not going to happen. So when the thoughts come up, addressing them with getting out of denial and saying, as much as I want this, it's not going to happen. And the more you can do that with yourself, the more you can actually move into an accepting space of the fact. But that won't take away the grief. The grief is going to be a process for you to work through. One of the biggest things when we're grieving is to learn to soothe ourselves, to be extraordinarily self-compassionate and kind, because without that, it can just be devastating. So we have to learn those skill sets, because it's just a really difficult space to be.